I just finished painting the Nightbringer, and I might have gone too far. This is my story. Today, I'm experimenting with compressed kit bashing, painting with superglue, and trying enamel villainy inks for the first time. You will decide if I went too far. Welcome, my name is Hubert, and today we paint the recently updated curtain shard of the Nightbringer model. But before we start, I need to get my hands on some Villainy inks enamels. A few of you recommended them, and since I've been using enamels for a while, it seems like the logical next step. I'm now a successful YouTuber, so I'm sure they'll agree to a partnership. Alright, so I bought some, and it was perfect timing. They were running a Valentine's discount. I got the full range. We'll abuse some of these later. For now, let's build the Nightbringer. There is one issue though. I really don't like the digital effects on the fabrics, so I looked for a way to change his sculpt, and of course I started with the clever method, fire. Yeah. That is not working, so I came up with another overly complicated idea that will eat almost 2 days of my time, but I assure you will be worth it in the end. We will use our own fabric to hide those harsh angles once he's built. So let's talk about the Nightbringer, going by the name of Azagorod. If we want to talk about him, we need to talk about the Necron tier. If we want to talk about the Necron tier, we need to talk about the old ones. So to make it short, Necron tier have bad sun, so bad skin, and bad life. Old ones immortal, Necron tier jealous. Necron tier make war to old ones. Deceiver offers immortality. Necron tier become Necrons. Necrons release big nope gods known as Catan into physical plane. Necrons defeat old ones with big nope gods. Oldest god is Azagorod, the Nightbringer. He is not nice, he feeds on suns and souls, consumes whole systems, very hungry. Necrons build Big Boom Boom. Nightbringer goes nap nap because of Big Boom Boom. Shards of him gets scattered everywhere. And what we use on tabletop is just one shard. So if you think that's OP, on the table, his recently reworked datasheet is still a massive pain to deal with. He hits like a truck, moves really fast now. He can deep strike, massive HP pool, 5+ feel no pain, with a constant -1 to damage. Bringing curtain shards in a 40k game is the equivalent of taking out your schlong and sweaty ballsack in a job interview and saying, your move. Alright, you'll have to bear with me here. This is going to be painful to watch. I wanted to get rid of the digitalization effect going on the fabrics, and this effect is everywhere. So I got rid of most of it. Now it's time to go further. With Compress, I plan to expand his robes. We'll use texture later to blend everything together, and that's why I'm posting this video 1 week late. This process alone took me 2 days. And why? Because I was improvising and because of the lightning tendrils supporting the model. This was a pain to deal with. Also, drying time, since using glue activator was impossible most of the time, it creates additional texture that's hard to control. So the plan is, put down the fabrics, glue it as much as I can and as well as I can, shape it, clean up the mess, then use texture to blend everything with the original plastic. I know using texture here will add, well, texture, but it's what I had on hand and it made me commit into a really grimdark and realistic approach for this model. Time to talk about how I want him to look like. Most of you know how I paint my Necrons, and as I did my Necrosaur Amentar in the last video, I also wanted him to really stand out. I wasn't planning on using Villainy inks for this one, but I received them really fast, so I had to try them, and it dictated my paint scheme. Full throttle on the gore and realistic look. I want him to be made out of flesh, and I want to feel it. Hence the fabrics makeover, gore and veins will do later. And the question of today's video might start to make sense already with what I'm doing here, even before painting. Am I already going too far? Will it work? Here is the story I want to tell with this kit bashing and paint job. He just came out of a bloodbath, drenched in blood. Just picture him feeding on an innocent planet filled with civilians. Another inspiration was this. This painting session felt like a breakthrough for me. Using Villainy inks for the first time, Goon's Grime as a filter, this felt intentional, almost like I knew what I was doing this time. We are not done. I want to try a new technique now, using superglue as a protective layer in order to create veins, and not only do that. This technique will add depth to the flesh. You'll see. I start by blocking my previous acrylic layers and primer with cyanoacrylate superglue and cheap plastic brushes. If you want to try this too, make sure to be confident in your brush control because time is of the essence here. Go too slow and you might create texture with the glue drying too fast. Once dry, I use Crimson as a filter. This technique I learned from Grimdark Compendium and they use an airbrush here. I don't, because I don't want to spray it over the fabrics. I want to focus on the flesh, and that's a mistake since using an airbrush here would have unified the filter and prevented pools from forming. I was lazy, I didn't want to waste time with masking, so I had to do several layers. Once almost dry and using a hairdryer helped a lot here, we are now free to use alcohol to strip this coat off. And since the previous layers are shielded by the superglue, the alcohol only affects this one. And with mostly pushing strokes, the goal is to create lines of stripped acrylic that will dry and form vein patterns. At first, as you can see, I'm not very good at it, but that's okay, as I'm mostly interested in the second layer. So, glue again. And by the way, I was really afraid of what superglue would do to existing acrylic layers, and once I saw it didn't destroy anything, I took advantage of it in a very moderate and restrained way. Second glue coat is dry, time to use Darken Off Nightshade and really work on these veins. This time I dilute it far less while being more generous with it. I really want to get to this stage where I'm able to push stripped paint and form clear patterns. And there you have it, old lady legs. Perfect. If you've tried this yourself, I'm curious to know how it went for you. Don't be shy. Let's now use real blood to paint the rest. Crimson Carrion could be mistaken for real blood. This stuff is really good, and in some parts it doesn't dry, it coagulates. This is where this project shifted from barely controlling what I was doing to total chaotic artistic improvisation. With this enamel effect and superglue. Yes, they are not cheap, and yes, they are hard to find, if not impossible, outside the US. And I read some really bad reviews saying they were basically just a bad product. Today I tried Goon's Grime and Crimson Carrion, and they are just great. They are much thinner than a regular enamel effect, and overall they work just fine, if you shake them before using. For Crimson Carrion, I loved how it looked while still wet, and in some spots it dried with a still wet feeling, so I went full force on it. This is where I think I lost control. We are almost done. Also, note to self, never ever use white ink through an airbrush again. White ink is, I think, responsible for my low self-confidence with doing small glow effects with the airbrush. This stuff is impossible to dilute correctly. Just use white regular acrylic and you'll be fine. With that said, I'll just finish him with the eyes, with just a white dot and a green fluor dot again. Then I just paint the rims black. This project is coming to an end, and I'm so happy with the stuff I got to try in this video. Alright, let's have a look. It started as not really liking the decision from GW creators, and it ended in a bloodbath. Literally. I'm writing these lines while looking at him, and I'm just happy. I feel accomplished. Don't really know why, I just like how he came out. From using compress, sprue glue, superglue, texture, and enamels, I'm glad I really took time on this one. He's really different from what I'm used to paint for Necrons, and this whole process boosted my confidence. Now, I think I'm ready for more. What do you think? You must have your opinion by now. Is it too much blood? Too much texture? Also, feel free to hop on Discord to share your own creations. The people there are very nice. As for me, I think it's finally time to start working on my third army, Chaos Knights. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later for a new 40k project. So until next time, happy painting!